swath of issues, including air toxics, solid waste issues, the NACs, a number of other issues as well. So I did want to mention I know a little bit more about you guys maybe than you perhaps know about me, because I've been paying attention to all of your bios and someone's stalking you through our website. So thank you for sharing all that with communications. I was really impressed and very excited to hear that we have as much political diversity in this room as we do geographic diversity. This room isn't just made up of Democrats or Republicans or independent voters. This room really is truly diverse and a nonpartisan group. And I think it demonstrates that clean air and a healthy environment are really a nonpartisan issue, and it's something that everyone has a right to. So I really am excited to have you all here in DC, and excited to see and hear the messages you'll be conveying to members of the administration as well as congressional representatives and their staff. So why we're here. We have a lot of uncontrolled smokestacks across the country. We have a lot of water pollution. We have a lot of solid waste pollution across the country. And unfortunately, one of the things we have to show for it is a lot of asthmatic children, asthmatic adults, and elderly people who are being impacted by these issues across the country. So again, thanks for coming here to work on this issue. So I just wanted to get into some things, some DC jargon. I think it is about as scary as this child, even though it will seem a lot scarier to you. I wanted to let you know, you'll hear me say, what is the ask? Make the ask, the ask, the ask, the ask. What the ask is just a request that you're making to the administration or to the members. The boss. So you'll hear people refer to my boss this, your boss that. I often will say, like, what does your boss think about this? And you may want to say, what does your boss think about this? Especially if you forget which office you're in. So it's an incredibly helpful tool. You can just generically kind of throw it out there whenever you have a question about what someone's boss thinks. At the administration level, typically they're referencing someone who is a political appointee, and so it's usually a senior official within the administration. Dear colleagues, there is a Dear Colleague letter in your packet, and it's a letter from Representative Schakowsky from Illinois. And what they are is they can be informational letters. So in that informational letter, she talks about this being Asthma Awareness Month and the need to ensure that the cement kiln regulation that Jim mentioned will be protected. There are also other Dear Colleagues, which I know a lot of you guys and your organizations have signed on to in the past, which are, or asked your members to sign on to. So these are things where your members will assemble, say, 50 or 100 different members on a letter to the administration. And I know the coal ash folks, for example, have asked their members to sign on to Quigley letters, Lewis letters, and lots of other letters. So those are also Dear Colleague letters, so that also may be something that comes up during your meetings. Administrative advocacy. There is a difference between administrative advocacy and lobbying. Administrative advocacy, that's what we'll be doing this afternoon. Today is pretty much purely administrative advocacy. We'll be going to talk to the administration about administrative regulations and standards that they've set forth or that we want them to set forth. Lobbying. Lobbying is when we're actually talking to members of Congress. This is when we're making asks that are legislative in nature. So tomorrow when we say, we hope you'll vote against the McKinley bill, and we hope you'll vote against the cement kiln CRA that's been introduced by Mr. Carter, that is an example of what lobbying is. So H&R, it meant to say H&S. H stands for House, and S stands for Senate. So when it says like HR something, it means that is something that's coming out of the House. When it says S something, it means it's out of the Senate. And it's also similar in terms of buildings. So you may see like S Russell, that means Senate Russell Building, or H Longworth, House Longworth Building. So elevator speeches. This is something that's in your packet, something we talked about in the pre-call. You're going to be expected to be able to convey your message powerfully and in a dynamic fashion in no more than 2 to 3 minutes. So just a couple of things to think about. One of the things people often forget to do is introduce themselves. Let them know who you are, where you're from, why it is you're in DC. Make it unique and personal to yourselves and include your asks. In your packets, you'll see a number of suggested ways to prepare your different elevator speeches, and you'll be asked to do these or kind of prompted to do these at the administration meetings and then also in your congressional office meetings. So meetings. We have the administration meetings and we have the congressional meetings. There are some key differences. What you'll see at the administration meetings is there will be a big room of people and unfortunately there won't be enough time for everyone to speak. So those meetings have been pretty well choreographed, and folks in the audience who will be speaking in the administration meetings during specific parts have already been talked to. We've already discussed what you'll be saying. If you guys have not been reached out to, you guys don't have a formal role in the program, but there are segments available during each of the meetings for question and answer, so you will be able to chime in, get your question answered, and also ask for follow-up. On the congressional side, much smaller meetings, you should all have an opportunity to speak during those times. Again, free form versus structured. Some of the similarities. You're going to all get the appropriate contact information. So if you have follow-up questions, don't hesitate to reach out to whoever you're meeting with in the congressional side or the administrative side. Again, stay brief, be political, and make sure your asks are being made. Yep.
Could you be clear on what you mean by being political?
Oh, sure. And in terms of being political, especially, we'll say at the administration side today, a lot of you guys are from really key swing states. Don't be afraid to mention that, and don't be afraid to mention that voters in your state are really energized by protecting the Clean Air Act. That is an example of how you can be political with the administration. On the congressional side, I know a lot of you are also from organizations that do a lot around political campaigns or are canvassers for particular campaigns or candidates. So don't hesitate to mention that. So if you have, say, gone out and canvassed for your rep or for your senator or things like that, don't hesitate at all to remind them that you've been an active supporter, or that you are happy that you have the opportunity to speak with them because you've always, supported their work or whatnot. But you can be pretty informal about it. Administrative asks. These are just kind of the overarching asks. We need to consider the impact. Politicians, basically, we want them to consider the impacts on communities. Oftentimes, the administrative agencies you'll be talking to are the number crunchers. So these are the folks who think about, how is this going to impact jobs? How is this going to impact cost-benefit analysis and other economic tools that are used? I think the biggest thing you guys have to offer here is a lot of stories about why they should be considering the impact on communities. So share that with them and ask them that as they make decisions, that they consider your health and the health of others in the room. Again, ask them to be supportive to whatever extent possible of health protective standards. And then also don't delay on those health protective standards. Examples like Kristen mentioned with the ozone NAAQS rule, that has been punted several times, and we're asking the administration specifically to go ahead and finalize that this summer. And I'll get into a little bit more of the specifics. And also, your packets especially have asks related to the House and Senate meetings. The meetings that you'll be having on the administrative side, with the speakers who will be talking this afternoon, we talked to them about the specifics asks that will be made. And I have copies of the agenda for both of those meetings, which it would be great if everyone could get a copy. So I'll grab those before I turn over the mic, and then everyone can see exactly what's going to be happening at the White House meeting and also at the EPA meeting, including lists of attendees. So some of the organizations or agencies that will be at the White House meeting, they include CEQ, DOI, EPA, HHS, and OPE.
What's CEQ? What's that?
No. Sorry to overwhelm you, I couldn't help it. CEQ, what you guys will see also in your packets is an explanation of what the different agencies are. We really prepared that for you so you have an idea of what all these acronyms mean. CEQ is the Council on Environmental Quality, which is a division within the White House that takes care of environmental issues. Department of Interior is DOI. They have a stake in the process when it comes to reviewing rules and regulations, especially related to coal, because coal is under the ground. Interior oversees the ground. So they're definitely a stakeholder in the decision-making process. EPA, they are the governing agency. They have jurisdiction over the Clean Air Act, the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, the Clean Water Act. Most of the different types of laws and statutes we'll be discussing. So they're definitely a key player. HHS, which is the Health and Human Services division of the government, they especially, I think, are interested in talking to the health professionals in this room because there are obvious health impacts and connections that can be made. And then OPE, which is the Office of Public Engagement within the White House. So this is another office within the White House which will be in the room today. And we'll be